Generation Push Saturday Morning Forum of the Rainbow Push International Coalition. Put your hands together, everybody. Yes. We're coming to you live from our international headquarters here in Chicago at 930 50th Street. I'm Santita Jackson. It is a joy to be with you two on this Father's Day weekend. Put our hands together for the fathers, my cousin. Got my aunt shocking me this morning. I love you, Aunt Evelyn. Had to do that. Dr. King's Workshop, 930 50th Street here in Chicago. We've got our international conference June 28th through July 2nd. We want you to call us right now at 773-256-2775, 773-256-2775. We need your support. We need your support. And throughout the week, you can call us at 773-FREEDOM, 773-FREEDOM, because we need you. We need you to help push before you need help from push. Father's Day, everybody. Put your hands together for all the fathers. We want to give a special thank you to the Cook County Treasurer, Maria Pappas, who has been leading the charge. And hopefully tax assessors all across the country and treasurers all across the country will follow her lead. Instead of collecting taxes, she got into office and found out how many taxes we were due, and she's looking for you so that she can pay you back. Amen? So she has stationed people here at Rainbow Push throughout the week on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. Tuesdays from 12 to 7, Wednesdays from 12 to 5, Fridays from 12 to 5, and today, Saturday, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. If you just come in here, we promise you, we can find out if you are due some money. Even if you are about to be thrown out of your house, guess what? The back taxes could keep you in your home, amen? So go to rainbowpush.org for more information, and just go on your phone or go on the computer, go to a library and go to a computer and go to enter cookcountytreasurer.com. Enter your address. You don't even have to put in your name, just your address, and you can find out how much money you're owed. Reverend and Mrs. Jackson found out that they had not taken a senior citizens exemption, and they were owed money. Oh yes, that's right, Aunt Evelyn. That's right. That's right. You can find that out. All right, put your hands together for that. We are saluting our fathers. We cannot say that enough, and we've got one of the great fathers in the house. This great man who has won awards all over the world, Maurice Mahan, one of the great artists of our time. He is going to be on WCIU, which is our local Fox affiliate here in Chicago. He is going to be featured as an artist on June 19th. Put your hands together. We do need your support. Let me say, at our international conference, we get people, Uncle Calvin, from everywhere. We have several hundred delegates coming from the continent of Africa. We have people coming from Europe. But guess what? We want you to be here too, because guess what? All of the top-tier presidential candidates are going to be here because they want to talk to you. Vice President Biden will be here. That's right. Senator Bernie Sanders, Senator Kamala Harris will be here. Senator Elizabeth Warren will be here. Mayor Pete Buttigieg. I'm so proud I was able to get his name pronounced correctly. Auntie Maxine Waters, that's right. Everybody's favorite judge, Judge Greg Mathis, will be here. Karen Clark Sheard, amen? The great Audrey Du Bois Harris. Kirk Franklin's Walls Group. Dougie Fresh, for all of us old schoolers. Come on, you know that. I know I'm giving my age away, but that's all right. My father said, if you don't like birthdays, try missing one. How about that, Cousin Lisa? That's right, but we are sending our congratulations. This reminds me, Reverend Jackson, of my grandmother, Mrs. Gertrude Brown. May peace be upon her spirit. Mrs. Rhonda Davis went back to college, 60-year-old grandmother, the valedictorian of her class at Cheyney University. Give her some love. And keep your hands clapping. Dr. Patrice Harris, the first African-American to be the head of the American Medical Association. Louisiana State University freshman Sha'Carri Richardson has set an NCAA track and field record. Come on, everybody. And we are sending love to our Chairman Emeritus, the founding pastor of the Great Fellowship Missionary Baptist Church, who is celebrating his 94th birthday this week, Reverend Clay Evans. Give him some love, everybody. And you know, our hearts are a little heavy, but we know that the heavens are rejoicing. One of our founding members of our Operation Breadbasket Choir, oh Brenda, I know you remember him so well, Tim Webb, has made his transition. Let's make the heavens rejoice. Give him some love as he's made his transition, everybody. We're sending our love to Pastor Johnny Miller, one of the great pastors of our time who lost his grandson. He needs our love and prayers. But you know what? We are going to welcome the ladies of Alpha Kappa Alpha have done something so wonderful. Our great fraternities and sororities, they do so much public service work. Yes, we have a lot of fun in college, Delta Sigma Theta in the house also. But guess what? We serve the public. We serve the public, and we're so excited that you not only founded this organization, but you took it beyond Alpha Kappa Alpha. The Ivy Center for Education, we want to welcome Caitlin Peterson, who, Reverend Jackson, she wants to give you something. Reverend, this great man of Omega Psi Phi. Caitlin, would you please come forward? Come forward, sweetheart. They are on, all of these young people today are on their college tour. Come on, Caitlin. Come on, sweetheart. Welcome her to the stage, everybody. Oh, keep your hands going. These young people are on their way to college. Caitlin, come on, sweetheart. You're not scared. Come on, Reverend.
Good morning to Reverend Jesse Jackson and other distinguished guests. I am Caitlin Peterson, and we are part of the Ivy Center for Education of Palmer, Arkansas, under the leadership of Ms. Maddie Collins and Patricia Berry. Our motto is promoting excellence in academic and character, and we do that by doing community service, tutoring, and character building. So on behalf of the Ivy Center for Education, I'd like to present you with this t-shirt for your continuous support and sacrifice for the African American community.
Everybody put your hands together for the Ivy Center for Education, our young people on their tour. Thank you, sweetheart. From Pine Bluff, Arkansas, Calvin, you know, I know Aunt Alfreda is happy in heaven today. Amen. Can never forget about her. Now, you know, she would have been supporting this college tour. Surrounded by all my aunts. My Aunt Evelyn's out here. I've got to be on my P's and Q's. My cousin Lisa, who's been 5 feet tall since she was born. Bless her heart. But this is, oh, I love her. I used to carry on her hip, but now I can't do that anymore. But we're so glad. This is really family weekend as we celebrate Father's Day. And we are welcoming to the stage our family, our fathers. This is a neglected holiday, but it really should not be, because you wouldn't be here without your father. And so I encourage everybody, as we celebrate Father's Day, if you are estranged from your father, it will heal the hole in your heart if you make it right with your father. Do it for him, but do it for you. Amen? Amen. But we've got some awards. We've got some outstanding fathers here today. We want them to come to the stage as we welcome, led by these great men from the fraternities, the African American fraternities, Alpha Phi Alpha, Kappa Alpha Psi, Omega Psi Phi. Come on, put your hands together. Phi Beta Sigma, Iota Phi Theta. Come on. And where is our own Johnny Savory? Is Johnny, well, we've got to get Johnny Savory up here, but we're going to welcome each member. I think Bathsheba Draper, please bring these awards forward. Reverend Jackson, would you like to present the awards to, who is the representative from Alpha Phi Alpha? I know that's not you, Mr. Purple and Gold. Oh, I know this. Is it Willis? Willis last name. Longer. Willis Longer, put your hands together, everybody, for Willis Longer and the men of Alpha Phi Alpha. But let me bring the first fraternity forward first. Is it That was Alpha Phi Alpha. Let's go to, is it DC Woodhandler? Is it from Kappa Alpha Psi? Put your hands together, everybody, for the men of Kappa Alpha Psi. Rick Williams, amen, from the mighty, mighty men of Omega Psi Phi. Oh, and we've got the big cheese, Keenan Salter from Iota Phi Theta. Come on, everybody, hey. Put your hands together for these great fathers. Well, come on, you can do better than that. Put your hands together, give them some love. Do we have Johnny Savory? Johnny Savory works in our organization. He was one of the wrongfully convicted. How many of you have seen When They See Us? Which people are trying to dispute right now, and you really can't, because I tell you, thank you, Bathsheba Draper. Well, I lived in New York at that time, and, you know, this is a story that many of us who were in New York at the time knew. Well, Johnny Savory is a man who was a boy like that, arrested at 13, put away for life, wrongfully convicted. And yet he comes here to work every day as he came out of jail. He has the most wonderful spirit. He's a single father. He was in prison for 30 years, Reverend. And so that's why I'm looking for Johnny Savory. And at some point in the broadcast, we want you to see him. But we have so many of these stories, Reverend Henry McGee, where are you? I think I know you. Come on, give him some love. Reverend McGee, would you like to speak for the fathers? Reverend McGee, I know a preacher can't resist the mic. Why don't you speak for the fathers?
Oh, well, the Bible says you will know a tree by the fruit it bears. And my name is Reverend Henry D. McGee, Jr. And so that meant there was a Henry D. McGee, Sr., and I have a Henry D. McGee, III. And so what I have learned from my father is hard work, perseverance, and to take care of my family. And by that, you will know the tree by the fruit it bears. So thank you so much, Reverend Jackson, Operation Push. Thank you, Son Tita.
Mr. Omega Psi Phi, would you like to say something?
Good morning, everybody. As mentioned, my name is Rick Williams. I'm the bossless of Iota chapter here in Chicago, the first graduate chapter of Omega Psi Phi fraternity. It's my privilege and pleasure to be here. I was invited by the good Reverend, my frat brother, and we're a hierarchical organization. I may be the bossless of a chapter. I'm actually a state representative also, but a brother with 20 years tells you to be somewhere, you show up on time. And I am, as the good Reverend said, the fruit of my father's tree. I'm Rick Williams, but my father was Bob Williams, and he produced 3 sons and a daughter, and we're all successful African-American folks. So thank you and good morning.
Mr. Kappa Alpha Psi, keep those hands together.
Yes, I'm a member of Kappa Alpha Psi, and I'm a businessman with a community responsibility, and people like Rainbow Push and Reverend Jackson has helped me to aspire to do great things in the community and give back to the community. And I own a apparel merchandising company and embroidery company, and I have the honor and pleasure to do the merchandising for Rainbow Push. And my father used to always talk about Rainbow Push and Reverend Jackson as a kid, and I never thought that I would be on stage working with Rainbow Push, being a part of it, and seeing my classmates a part of Rainbow Push and giving back to the community. So I appreciate the support and the role model and just allowing me to be able to give back to the community.
Iota Phi Theta, is that you, Steve? Come on, everybody, this is a member of our Rainbow Push family.
Well, thank you. My name is Steve Wheeler. I'm a member of the great Iota Phi Theta fraternity. If you're not familiar with Iota, we're the most recent addition to the Pan-Hellenic Council. So we're a viable organization founded in 1963, and we're growing. Thank you so much. Not only am I a member of Iota, but I've also been a member of the Rainbow Push staff for the past few years. I do broadcast engineering here. And it's always been a joy to have the opportunity to help Reverend Santita and the other members of the organization get the message out. I consider it a blessing to be a part of this organization. I'm also a father of 3. And as Hank was saying, you know a tree by the fruit that it bears. So all 3 of my sons are doing well. They're very successful. And I thank you for the opportunity.
Phi Beta Sigma? Is a member of Phi Beta Sigma here? Well, we don't want to overlook anyone because all of these men matter. You know, there's a Center for Disease Control study that came out in 2013 that gives lie to the myth that African American fathers don't care. In fact, it showed that Centers for Disease Control and Prevention showed that the most father, please hear me, the most involved father in America of any racial or ethnic group is the black father. Oh, yes. And we will be talking about that tomorrow on Reverend Jackson's nationally syndicated radio show, Keep Hope Alive with Reverend Jesse Jackson, because Felicia, WCIU Jams, we want to tell people just how loving and involved our fathers are and want to be, whether they are on the outside of prison or behind the walls. They want to be fathers. They want to be fathers, and they are fathers. So give these fathers some love. Thank you so much. And in fact, on Monday night at Pearls, where we meet after work and we come up live on Facebook Live around 6:45 p.m., we're going to be talking about the myth of the missing black father, because it is a myth, and we have to stop telling these untruths about our men, everybody, because our men, if they want to be fathers to their children, everybody, put your hands together. Amen. I want to welcome to the stage, but first let me, as I welcome our oratorical, a young orator, one of the great fathers who we just have to acknowledge, someone who works with these young people day in and day out, week in and week out, is Judge Stanley Hill, one of our great fathers. Give him some love. So Nelson Simmons, would you come to the stage, young man? That's right. It's Judge Stanley Hill in the back there, everybody. He's right there. That's right. The 7th grader, I think we're going to have to bring the mic to him, yes? He's a 7th grader, Nelson Simmons, from the Southwest Christian School. Everybody put your hands together to show this baby some love.
Today we honor all the fathers, grandfathers, uncles, brothers, and all the men who fill that important role in the lives of our communities and families. My name is Nelson Simmons, and I will be reciting an excerpt from Mad as Hell from the movie Network. I don't have to tell you things are bad. Everybody knows things are bad. It's a depression. Everybody's out of work or scared of losing their jobs. The dollar buys a nickel's worth. Banks are going bust. Shopkeepers keep a gun under the counter. Punks are running wild in the street, and there's nobody anywhere who seems to know what to do. And there's no end to it. We know the air is unfit to breathe and our food is unfit to eat. And we sit watching our TVs while some local newscaster tells us that today we had 15 homicides and 63 violent crimes. As if that's the way it's supposed to be. We all know things are bad, worse than bad. They're crazy. It's like everything everywhere is going crazy. So, we don't go out anymore. We just sit in the house, and slowly the world we're living in is getting smaller. And all we say is, please, at least leave me alone in my living rooms. Let me have my toaster and my TV and my steel-belted radials, and I won't say anything. Just leave me alone. Well, I'm not gonna leave you alone. I want you to get mad. I don't want you to protest. I don't want you to riot. I don't want you to write to your congressman, because I wouldn't know what to tell you to write. I don't know what to do about the depression and the inflation and the Russians and the crime in the street. All I know is that first, you've got to get mad. You've got to say, I'm a human being, God dang it, my life has value. So I want you to get up out of your chairs. I want all of you to get up out of your chairs right now. I want you to go to the window, open it, stick your head out and yell, I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not gonna take this anymore. I would now like to introduce a man who has been mad as you know what before, but he decided to turn his anger into action. And he has been taking action and making change for over 50 years. Please welcome to the Saturday Morning Forum stage, the Reverend Jesse Jackson Sr.
Respect me, protect me, never neglect me. I am somebody. My mind is a pearl. I can learn anything in the world. I am God's child. I am God's child. Stop the violence. Save the children. Stop the violence. Save the children. Keep hope alive. Never surrender. Keep hope alive. Never give up. Keep hope alive. Make you scream.
I am somebody. Oh, I am. Yeah. Hey. At the end of this day, you can turn to walk away, but I am. Oh, I am. This day I am. Yeah. At the end of this day, you can turn and walk away. Say, I am somebody.
Put your hands together. We're approaching our international convention dates, pulling our families together. I want to thank Bishop Horace Smith at the outset. Our first events at Apostolic on 3rd and 9th in Indiana on Friday, the 28th of June. We have our labor luncheon. The International Painters President will speak to us, as well as Vice President Joe Biden at that luncheon at noontime. We put the focus on workers because something called temporary workers. They work up to the time they would get benefits and then laid off and fired, hired the next week. 7 million temporary workers. We want to organize, say, temporary workers who work should get benefits for working. Then the issue of a livable wage. People working 3 and 4 jobs, changing bus 3 or 4 times, and still can't make it. So the big focus that day is on labor and working people. Tonight is our educational banquet. Kamala Harris will be one of the keynote speakers that night. Ladies and gentlemen, in the late 50s, we had gotten disgusted with racial segregation. We felt a sense that it was humiliating to us. You had Lincoln High and Booker Washington High on one side of town. Then you had Central High. And we found that racial separation was humiliating. But they pulled a trick on us. We got race desegregation. The Hispanics fought for resource desegregation. They say Hispanics fought in resource segregation. Their case was laws. We got racial desegregation. Our case was won temporarily. So today you have a Harper High in Chicago and you have Neuqua Valley. The gap between the resources and between black and white is greater than it was in 1954. We're going to file a lawsuit. So we're going to file a lawsuit demanding an even playing field resources. One school teaches 5 foreign languages and got an Olympic size. Another side doesn't have 1 foreign language teacher in the class. We're going to end that process. On that next Saturday morning, the 28th, 29th, we'll be at Apostolic, 3rd, 9th, Indiana. Please meet us there on that morning with frats, sororities, churches on that morning, the 29th. And that afternoon, we're going to have a massive family affair, a picnic of sorts out at outside the DeSauber Museum. Please be a part. Dougie Fresh will be entertainment there, and Marshalls, Shylights, and others are going to have big fun that Saturday afternoon. Sunday night, we're going to have our gospel event. Mac Reynolds and Sister Sheard. But I talked about Omega Brothers today. We should have. I went to a frat meeting last night, and I left there excited and depressed. In a room of about 50 people, 50 men, they're hidden. We don't know they exist. They're professors at universities, the deans, the doctors, lawyers, judges, engineers. This is something called frat. We intend to expose the genius of black men hidden behind the walls of fraternity. We're trying to have an African American male summit meeting on Sunday afternoon. On Monday morning, there'll be a healthcare breakfast. Noontime, the women's luncheon, which Jackie Jackson heads. It's almost sold out, my friends, already. We expect to have Sister Stacey Abrams there and Maxine Waters and others at the women's luncheon. The night is life beyond the playing field. You know, when Wilt Chamberlain got through playing basketball for Kansas, he couldn't go to the NBA. You couldn't play until your class graduated. Spencer Haywood filed a lawsuit, so you should have the right to work when you can do the job. Spencer Haywood is why you have one and done. To the right to leave school whenever you want to leave. Go to the military, go to work. Spencer Haywood won that suit. Jackie broke into baseball, but the reason why these ball players can demand money according to the market, a guy named Curt Flood, all-star center fielder for the St. Louis Cardinals, they decided to sell him to New York. He said, I can't be sold. He filed a lawsuit. He lost his career. Every free agent in the world, whether it's football, basketball, baseball, America, Europe, say every free agent in the world that makes money according to their talent, according to the market, is because of Curt Flood. Next morning we'll have our business breakfast We had a outstanding meeting last week in Seattle, Washington, with the head of T-Mobile and Sprint. He will be one of the speakers. In Chicago, there'll be 3 projects worth $20 billion. Lincoln Park and the Obama Center and Project 78. We've been locked out, but thanks be to God, we have a mayor. Say we have a mayor that cares. She will demand our share of jobs and contracts on those jobs. Those 3 of them will be there that day, along with the mayor and the governor. So at noontime, we close the minister's luncheon at noontime. And Brother Tellis Chapman will be our speaker that day. But more than that, ministers must fight for voting rights and voter rights, the end of suppression. See, ministers must fight to end voter rights suppression. We need some volunteers today. When the meeting is over, we're going to have those who want to help with the convention in any way. You may be in Philadelphia, like Vincent Hughes, or you may be in Atlanta, like C.K. Hoffler, wherever you are today. All roads lead to our convention in Chicago. Please meet us here June 28th through July the 2nd. We have this fall, we're going to focus on South Carolina. There's a young brother running named Jamie running for Senate. If we vote, we'll have an African American senator from South Carolina that will defeat Mr. Graham. Also, an African American Republican senator and Democrat. You could have 2 black senators from South Carolina. Put your hands together. We need volunteers to help us in this battle as we fight. The blacks, Latinos, and the women fight together. You know, in 1965, a new America was born, Sandy. We got the right to vote in 1965, the first time since 1880. White women had the right to serve on juries for the first time in the South. 18-year-olds had the right to vote for the first time. Vote on college campus for the first time. You could vote bilingually for the first time. That's a new majority. Say the new majority laid the groundwork for Barack becoming president in 2008. That new majority, if it votes his hopes and not his fears, can send Trump back to playing golf with his bare feet every day. I want to bring on now Brother Mehan. I've been able to watch Jonathan grow across the years. Jonathan was the late bloomer in the family. His mind was so interested, he had interest in so many things. Jonathan was pallbearer at 12 funerals before he was finished high school. He was going to Whitney Young. He always had a huge sense of care. We eating dinner at Gladys one day. One of the waiters that Jonathan had befriended, we heard he had gotten killed. He broke down and started crying. He always was a sensitive person, Jonathan was, always sensitive. And just kind of laid in the cut. And we watched Jonathan grow. Jonathan with North Carolina A&T. Then he got his master's degree at Northwestern. He kept growing. He's been resisting preaching for a long time. Said, but nobody can outrun their shadow. They can outrun through raindrops and not get wet. Jonathan's a very powerful, so Jonathan Jackson is a powerful voice for social justice. We look forward to hearing his presentation today. Jonathan, come on, Jonathan.
Can y'all help us out this morning? Everybody know this song. Come on. Every praise, every word of worship. Every praise. Every praise. It's to our God. Sing hallelujah. Come on. Sing hallelujah. Glory, hallelujah. Is due our God. Every praise. Every praise. Let's take it up. If you know it, stand on your feet. Say every praise. Put your hands together. Every praise. Sing hallelujah. Come on. Sing hallelujah. Every praise. Every praise. Let's go to the next slide, which says, God my Savior. Come on. Yes, He is. Yes, He is. God my Savior. God my Savior. God my healer. God my deliverer. Yes, He is. Yes, He is. God my Savior. God my. Oh. God my deliverer. Yes, He is. 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 Every praise is to our, every word of worship. Every praise, that's it up. It's to our, clap your hands right there. Make some noise in the room.
Thank you, Rainbow Push family and those that are present today. I thank you for your sacrifice in coming out on this day, June 15th, 2019. We thank God for fathers. We thank God for Father's Day. We thank God for our fathers that are home. We thank our fathers that we know. We thank God for the brothers and the sons that have stepped in on behalf of fathers. We thank God for the fathers that we might not have grown up with because of the pain that they've endured that we know nothing about. We thank God for the fathers that, I don't like the term stepfathers, I like to say the fathers that came into your life and made the difference in your life. I want to thank God for all of those men that take on a child because it's the spiritual thing to do. And that reaches out to all of the pastors and the ministers that counsel so many children, so many people that we would not even recognize. I want to thank God for some of the men that I know in my life that have been father extraordinaires. I want to thank Reverend Dr. Clay Evans. Reverend Evans, when my father was in the seminary and came here and had young children and could not talk to his biological father about receiving some funds, but Reverend Clay Evans gave them food. So my family was in a food line at one time. We thank God for the ministers that open doors and make a way for us all. On this Father's Day, I'd like to simply address a 3-point issue. 1, our history. 2, our hurt. And 3, our hope. It's been 400 years since the Africans came to America, 1619 to 2019. Young people, I need you to understand this because this is where I get my source of hope and inspiration. I would be depressed if I couldn't see the big picture. The big picture. 400 years when persons were kidnapped, shackled, and brought to this country. That's very significant because a concept was introduced called chattel slavery, where you would be born into slavery and could do nothing to manumit to free yourself from slavery. That was a peculiar institution that was created in the United States of America. So where does the wealth of America come from? Why is this the deepest, biggest market in the entire world, the strongest economy? Why? Because if you had free labor for over 246 years, you too would be rich. When you look at our communities around the country, why does it appear that they're so devastated on one side of town? Why does it appear that we're poor? Does it appear that we've done something wrong, that this is a land of opportunity? Are we indeed indolent and lazy? Have we not given up and tried our best to be entrepreneurs? Well, the reason you may be broke is because the quickest way to go broke is to get robbed. When you have been robbed repeatedly, consistently, and I want to draw the timeline from 400 years until today. It doesn't stop. But we serve a mighty God, and he has not failed us, and we are here today. I saw my friend, the Honorable Judge Greg Mathis, on the internet the other day. And Judge Mathis was crying. He had tears in his eyes. And I said, oh, something's wrong. That's not the judge that shows himself like that. Now, I've seen the judge cry before, when his mother died, when his children graduate, when he got his granddaughter. But why was the judge showing a picture of himself crying? And then he texted me and says, what you doing? You watching the game? I said, yes, where are you? He says, I'm in town. I said, I'm coming over. So it was just the two of us at home, at his home that evening, watching the game. And I said, Judge, everything okay? He says, yeah. I said, I saw you crying on Facebook. What's happening? He says, you know, I was watching the documentary When They See Us. And he says, in that last episode, it got to me. He says, why are they being celebrated? He said, I see everything that happened wrong and the injustice that happened to them. Those young men never should have been locked up. And we're celebrating a kind of judicial molestation. He said, it hurts. I thought I knew the judge. I've been friends with the judge for 36 years now. I saw him when he was running around saying that he wanted to be in civil rights and was an aide for my father in the Detroit area, making his way up. But then I said to myself, just how well do I know the judge? I said, Judge, I want to ask you a few questions for helping with my message on Father's Day. I said, can you tell me something about your father? And he says, you know the answer. Do you understand? I felt the pain. I said, treading very lightly, have you met him? When you see him, you tell him I ain't never seen him. Don't know him. So I see how the judge has become not just a friend, but more like a brother, because he's looked at my father as his father. Our history, 400 years, where you could not have your parents' name. I had the privilege of being in Austria to stand in for my father with Prince Alfred Liechtenstein in Austria just 3 weeks ago. And when I was talking to His Serene Highness Alfred Liechtenstein, I asked him about his family's history and this beautiful plot of land he had on the hill. I said, Prince, how far can you trace your family's lineage? He says, we can go back to the 12th century. When I think of the Judge Mathis And I see him proudly posting the picture of his family at Thanksgiving and graduations and his children and grandchildren. His family's history and lineage starts at that table today. Can't trace it back 50 years. Our hurt is real. When you've been denied education, opportunity, employment, when you've had to stand and let other people see you take the arrows in your back so you can protect your wives, your women, so that they can have careers and you end up at home unemployed. People say, oh, black men ain't this, they ain't that. I want to just speak to you for a moment on the pain that the men endure. This week has been difficult trying to prepare some words for you. I've cried so much. It just hurts. And that's why black guys don't talk about it. We pick up our chin and we go forward, never looking back. The pain is real. And there's history to it. You know we're not lazy. The Europeans had to come and get us to come here to do their work. We're not the deadbeat dads. If you read your American history, the original deadbeat dads is Thomas Jefferson. Raping Sally Hemings. He didn't date her, he raped her and made a back exit door. How do you free your own children that you did not even acknowledge? George Washington has children of African descent that he never acknowledged. I just want to set the whole story straight. And that's been 400 years. We've just now been able to get our names. So ladies and gentlemen, we're doing the best we can. And when I admire all the brothers and the men that are being the fathers that they've never seen, we've never asked the question when we try to figure out what's going on with black men. How did we get to this position? We hurt, but we never talk about it. We look the other way, we make it a joke. But I've had the privilege of growing up with my father, knowing my grandfather, knowing that my father gets his name Jesse from my great-grandfather. It's like in The Lion King, I know who I am. And my children know who they are and whose they are. I remember my children playing chess in a young age, and I'm in the airport at Love Field in Dallas, and my young child is running underneath the ropes. And an officer approached him. He couldn't have been more than 5 years of age. And he said, come here, where are you going? My child couldn't even talk, didn't have teeth in his mouth. And I said, officer, I'm the father, and there's no one here. Is there something I can help you with? He says he shouldn't be running around. And I said, you shouldn't be talking to him. He's a child. Man up. I said, I've got him, and I was watching him, and if there were any other passengers around, I'd have had him closer. He's a child. So there's a fear we have of being black men, having to protect our children. I'm in the Guggenheim Museum in New York City with my child on my shoulder, like I see all the other white parents with their children on their shoulder, and the black security guard thinks it's his appointed duty to come to me to tell me to take my child off my shoulders. I said, you got the wrong one, officer. Rental cop. That's not my son, that's not my child. You're not going to do that. And before I knew it, it was 2, 4, 8, 10 or more of these security guards. I said, I swear to God, it's not enough you they can create. Not for me and my child. When I saw that movie and I haven't been able to finish it, of when they see us, and I saw each one of those children having to confront those officers, I had to thank God again And I cried because that's 1989, just 30 years ago. Had that been me in New York City, with the blessing that's been bestowed upon me, as soon as I can get to my dad, we're going to be walking up out of this courthouse in this police detention facility. But when you don't have that protection of your dad and your father, when your father hasn't been around the house, or when your father's been beaten down and can't pick his head up, and your father's afraid for your life, and your father doesn't know how to access ministers and activists and hit the streets and save their child, that can hurt. When my brother went to jail, and I would say it was wrong, 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 and I'm going to keep it moving. But it was wrong. Lost his title, had to pay the funds back that nobody had disputed, didn't take a dime of federal money, went to jail, and look at every other person in there. This is why we have a Rainbow Push Forum, because free people can talk free. And as I saw what was happening to those young men, they were defenseless. But don't put that then. They got out in around 2003. Why did one of the wealthiest men in the world, Michael Bloomberg, the mayor of New York City, hold up their little paltry sum for another 10 years? How are you going to group all the Negroes together and pay them one time? It's 5 individual lives that you've raped and hurt and robbed. The judge reminded me they were denied the opportunity to have wives, to have children, to go to school. And you're going to pay them $5 million. I know people in New York City that make $5 million a month in bonuses. And look at how people profited off those boys' pain. Linda Fairstein.
Thank you for your support across the years. We've been in this building for 47 years. Nelson Mandela spoke here, Harold Washington spoke here, Congressman Jesse Jackson Jr. and Gus Savage and Charlotte Hayes. So many people across the years. This has been a kind of refuge, a place from which we launch great ideas. Your movements for action for registration and jobs, and just another building is about to collapse under the heavy, heavy rain and winter.
30 years later, the man that said, I'll put a bounty on their head and they should be killed, he went on to become nationally prominent and becomes our president of the United States of America. People profit off the exploitation of our children. That's our history and our pain. But let me tell you what I saw this past week as I watched the basketball game with Judge Mathis. Dad, when I looked at that game, I saw something a little different. And I was so glad to see you there. Because you were in the living room with the two of us. And what I saw there was knowing that we would be together on this day, God willing, June 15th. I saw Medgar Evers' funeral that happened in 1963, June 15th. They said that after the funeral, the young people started singing "This Little Light of Mine." They said the young people started singing, "Before I'll be a slave, I'll be buried in my grave." They said after they sang the last song that the marchers left the church and went to the funeral home where his body was going to be picked up and sent to Arlington for the burial, because he was a Vietnam veteran and a World War II veteran. He was a soldier, he says, abroad and at home, fighting for the American way of life. I saw, Dad, when we last saw Mr. B.B. King having gone down to Jackson, Mississippi, having flown back from anywhere he was around the world, Teddy, 49 out of 50 years, he always came back to honor his brother and friend, Medgar Evers. He never forgot. He did a fundraiser to keep his name alive. And now when you fly into Jackson Airport, it's the Medgar Evers Airport because B.B. King wouldn't let it die. Dad, when I saw that game the other day, I saw the Toronto Raptors with a young man of African descent as its president, tall and handsome, 48 years of age, born in London. Follow me. His mother is a medical doctor. His father is a nurse. Ladies, you can marry a nurse too. Moving on to my point. Then he moved back to Nigeria, learned soccer and so forth, and then abandoned soccer because he fell in love with basketball. Tried to get into the league, went out to Seattle, his parents let him play. And then, Dad, there was a point at which he could have stopped. He knew his dream was 1 in a million. But the coach said, I can be that 1 in a million. That's a source of inspiration for him to you. He went to work, if you follow me, as a volunteer scout for the Orlando Magic. What does that mean? He didn't get paid. He says, I'm going to find you somebody that the person you have on salary can't get, and then you'll want to pay me. He never stopped. He moved around the league, and now Toronto, the 3rd largest city in North America. Toronto, larger than Chicago. They have the good sense to have an African of African descent to be its president. 400 years from the bottom of a slave ship to the championship in Toronto. Talk about the pain as he's leaving the locker room to get on the stage to celebrate with his team. A deputy and a sheriff said, you don't have the right placard on your shirt. You don't have the gold wristband. He was detained and he moved his way around the officer. The officer pushed him and he pushed him back. He knows who his father is. He has an open case pending the president of the Toronto Raptors right now in San Francisco in Alameda County. Oh, you can win and get treated like a Negro right here today. Did you see the games? Did you see a young man running, working on the field that he plays? He falls, trips, and then a belligerent woman pushes him because she had white privilege. She didn't get arrested and she just paid a paltry fine. She didn't get escorted out. Oh, we need to talk about it. Look at what happens in the NFL, where these young men say you can't play because you've smoked marijuana and marijuana is legalized in 13 states, and you've got a team owner that's dealing in illicit prostitution and sex slave trafficking, and it doesn't come on the news. When I looked at the game, I saw something. I saw 2 great players in Klay Thompson with his mother and his father, and he's an all-star. Shown enough, gave it his all. I saw young Steph Curry with his mother and father in the stand who married his high school sweetheart. The player life ain't for him. He says, why look around when you know what you want? This is the woman I love. Steph Curry, a devout Christian. They don't want to show you that because that makes black men look different in your eyes. They want to talk about every other black man in the NBA that's fathered many children, but they're not going to talk about Larry Bird. He got more than them. I'm sorry, I just need to exhale just to tell you what's on my mind today. I saw the Toronto Raptors, and I saw young Isaiah Thomas in this arena, this room right here, coming in our food line to get some food. who had to go from house to house every time the rent was due because his mother couldn't stay in one place. He came right in here. I saw Brother Isaiah Thomas in my mind's eye when he tried to buy the Toronto Raptors. 15 years ago, the arena and the team for $110 million. He raised the money. He knew the value. He did his due diligence. And when he got to the closing table with the money, the owner said, you know, you're going to be the first Negro, colored, black to own an NBA franchise. He says, that's got to be worth something more to you. Give me $20 million more. That's the reason Isaiah Thomas does not own the Toronto Raptors today. Isaiah saw it, Isaiah wanted, he raised the money and the rules changed on Isaiah Thomas. When I looked at that game, I saw black excellence on the field. When I tell you who won the game, we won the game. We could not lose. When I saw Brother Gasol shooting on the outside, a young man from Spain whose brothers got 2 championship rings with the Lakers, and he got sent into the Siberia of basketball. When you get to Toronto, you're not supposed to play and do anything else ever again. That's the write-off team. That team was made to be the joke. But then they've got a president up there that can make serious trades and reconfigure the team. I saw Brother Dwayne Casey sitting in the background. Last year, that black man was the team coach. He laid the foundation. Oh, he won. When I look at the success of Golden State, I can see Mark Jackson. He laid the foundation. They might not have gotten there with you, but you can't get to the NBA and have a championship team in one season unless somebody laid a foundation. You just can't do it. When I saw those young men out there playing, young brother Kevin Durant, who was raised with his mother and didn't have his father's support, but he had his brothers and his mother. And when he became prominent, he reconciled, had so much love in his heart that he reconciled with his father. I saw our triumph. I saw our challenges all playing out on that court side. Then I went over to the Toronto Raptors. And when I saw Mr. Fred VanVleet, and I realized his father had been killed. And somebody's talking about they don't have the experience and they don't understand the pressure. I wish I could have stuck my hand through the television set and grabbed the mic from the commentator. You don't really know where these brothers come from. Playing in this arena, flying private planes, this is the good life for them. When I saw Toronto Raptors and I saw Ibaka, number 9, I believe that's his number when his mother was killed, I said, oh no, he's ready. When I saw Brother Kiwi Leonard, knowing his father had been killed. When I saw Pascal on that courtside, knowing his father got killed when he was 20 years old, when he had been planning on getting into the priesthood. And Brother Pascal writes his name, his father's name on his shoe before every game. Oh, I wish you understood the pain, the history, and the triumph of African American men. We came here with no names. They raped and robbed us and didn't have the protection of the law to take care of your daughter. I'm not going to cry right now, boy, but my little daughter. And this goes on for centuries. I asked one young brother, I said, tell me something about your father, Dad. Young brother Carson down in Decatur. He says, oh, I wasn't raised with him. He says, Jonathan, true story. I was about to get into a fight. And my mother steps outside and says, you all stop that fighting. She says, that's your brother. He says, really? He says, you know my father? He says, yeah, he's over in Springfield. He said, I don't want anything from him. I just want to meet him, just want to see him. Dad, they go over to Springfield. He wants to see his father. Walked in the house. Man's watching TV. He calls his name out. He looks at him and keeps watching television. I've cried so much this week listening to these stories. I asked the judge about his father. Don't know him. But one thing they have in common, they were kicked out and left out. But they found a way to call my father their father, and they got helped out. When I went to Decatur just 2 weeks ago, the last time I had been there was 1999. And I could see this young man, Reverend Courtney Carson, as the vice president of the school board that did not want to let him come back to school. God is amazing. We're going to wrap this up now, but we've had our history. Like my father always said the story, if you see a turtle sitting on a fence post, you know one thing for certain, it didn't get there on its own. We did not get into this condition on our own. When you look at the labor unions that lock us out, billions of dollars of work at O'Hara, and you've got these white women-owned firms that say they're the minorities and black folks can't get any work. We need to talk about it. When you got everybody gets put in front of the needs of black people, we're citizens too. We need to talk about it. You talk about babies in the border in cages. Every senator talks about it. That's the right thing to do. But you never say a word about the babies in cages in New York City that got locked up by Donald Trump and Linda Fairstein. You talk about D-Day and 75 years later and the Marshall Plan where they want to build something and rebuild Europe, but you don't want to talk about 400 years later and a program to help rebuild what you destroyed that God has saved in America. Listen, I'm all cried out. I'll never look at brothers the same again. I've been so blessed to have my father and to know my grandfather. And any time I had a problem, anything that I got into, any mischievous that I had been a part of, I knew I could be forgiven because I had the providence of my father and the protection. Anytime there was a problem at the school, I wanted my mother to show up because she would drive the station wagon and come up there by herself. But when my father came up, he came up rolling deep. 3, 4 cars and a whole bunch of people. Everybody in the school looking out the window, and they knew I was in trouble again. Oh my God, when you got your father in your life, and you see presidents and they have the military and spaghetti and hats and they've got all the salutation, and I see a man that gets this Bible and will get on a plane with no security and go see Muammar Gaddafi, will get this Bible and get on a plane and go see Hafez Assad and get U.S. prisoners out of jail. When I see this man that'll get this Bible and go see President Saddam Hussein in his palace and tell them we don't need to have a war to bring back 400 people that were held hostage. When I see this man, just because he's a black man, he won't get his due, won't get his credit. One of the greatest Americans of all time, one of God's greatest children, the Reverend Jesse Jackson.
'cause it won't be too long. Oh, listen now. Powers keep on lying to me in my face. Yeah. My people, y'all, don't stop dying. Yeah. World, keep on turning, 'cause it won't be too long. Yeah. Oh, so glad that you let me try it again. Last time on earth we lived the whole world to sing, y'all. So glad that we know more than we did then. We got to keep on trying till we reach higher ground. Higher ground, y'all sing it with me. Higher ground, higher ground, yeah, higher ground. Oh, I'm so glad that you let me try it again. Last time on earth, I lived the whole world of sin. So glad that I know more than I knew then. We got to keep on trying till we reach higher ground.
Put your hand together for Brother Mahan. Let's hear from Brother Mahan. One of the most profound Father's Day messages I've ever heard about. Let's give it up for Johnny Johnson. Woo. It's a lot to take in one day. When he gets up here, Johnny Sabre, we honor Johnny today. Johnny was 14 years old in Peoria. Took him out of class, accused him of killing 2 men. He was 5'6", the killer was 6'2". He never got back to school. They kept him in jail for 30 years. He missed 30 Christmases and Thanksgiving days. Jonathan helped get him out of jail. He now works for us as a trusted member of our staff. A good up for Johnny Sabre. Special guest here from Arkansas. I want you to send Arkansas. There are children of big hand from Arkansas. Stand. Arkansas. I want to do 2 things today. I want to, seek some volunteers for our convention. These are the young people. Hope Calvin will bring y'all back for the convention. He had lots of money to bring them people back from Arkansas. And this is a stone throw down the road. We need volunteers for the convention. We'll be people coming here from Ghana, Nigeria, Cameroon, South Africa, Mississippi, all around the world. There's work to be done, And I want some of you who want to volunteer as in transportation, some in security and other areas, but I need you to do that. We also have a few more tables to sell. Tables are $1,500 a table. For a table of 10, $150 per person. We must pay our way. Say Rainbow Push. And talk trash. Trump. Because we don't have a Trump grant. We pay to free our leaders. And leaders then must free their people. I want to first right now, if you have $100 or more, please stand, come forward. Take up our collection. Brother Calvin, we thank you. Johnny, say before I go any further. Johnny, come here, Johnny. 30 years in jail, wrongfully convicted. 30 years in jail, wrongfully convicted. Yeah, he stands.
he wanted to. He raised that child like he's the father and the father.
Lord, I don't know what to say, but I think one of the most beautiful days coming home was meeting Jonathan Jackson. Now it's gonna be kind of odd me saying this, but he told me that I was he my big brother, and I'm his little brother. But the wonderful thing is, I admired the man that brought me into his family. To meet his dad, to meet his mom, but most of all, to meet his children. Little Leah, Noah, and JT. And I watched a father and a mother work together to raise a family, and I realized as I stand between him and his dad, that's an awesome thing to be. And I had a dad. My mother went to heaven when I was 6 months old. But God sent me her back by sending me this little girl. And it's through, like Joseph, through this little girl, take all my pain away from the injustice that I had to endure. But God's love has always guided me through, and it will continue to do so for the rest of my life. And I give this young lady here the kind of life she deserves to have, free from injustice, free from pain. Because one of the things that a dad is supposed to do, he's supposed to be a great protector and nurturer. And now today we see so many things out here in our communities that sadden us. Many of them Jonathan addressed today. We can do better. And the men have to do better. And the mothers have to do better for our babies and for our future.
Let me make this appeal to you today. The men of Omega who are here stand. Alphas, Kappas, please stand. What I want to do, as the Spirit leads me, on Sunday afternoon at 3 o'clock, before we have our gospel event at 6, we're going to have a black male summit. The Alphas, Kappas, Omegas, 100 black men. So one thing we have in common, we're all in the pressure cooker. Reach out to your various frats around town in the area. Let's have us a summer meeting and work on our agenda so we can win the battle. What struck me last week, before I take the money, about D-Day in France. The reason why white men were on the front line, black men were not allowed to fight. Matter of fact, those same men in 1948, 4 years after D-Day, when Truman desegregated the military, Jerome Thurman organized the Dixiecrats. Same men who fought for freedom for the Germans to vote and the French to vote, denied us the right to vote for another 20 years. What matters for us is S-Day, Selma. See, D-Day didn't free us. S-Day, Selma Day. Omaha Beach was Edmund Pettus Bridge. Put your hand together, men. And I want to meet with you briefly downstairs when the meeting is over, or you different frats, because we're going to have us a quick figuring out what our agenda is. Now it's collection time. Those who give $100 or more, please come forward, or more. Calvin Jordan, $500. Give Calvin a hand, $500. You give $100 or more, please stand now and come forward. Please stand and come forward. Your sacrifice. We need your support to sustain our struggle. We will be free. We will be free if we do not faint in the face of adversity. Come forward. You give at least 100. You give 50 or more. Stand. Come, Calvin. Calvin.
Stone, my son, yeah. Wherever he laid his hat was his home. And when he died, was alone. Is it true?
You'll give $50 or more. $50 or more, please stand. 50 more, please stand.
That ain't right. Heard about Papa doing some storefront preaching, talking about saving souls, and all the time we
Mr. Harrell,
For the real thing.
Mama just told me to Papa was a rolling stone. Wherever he laid his hat was his home. And when he died, all he left was alone. I said, Papa was a rolling stone. Wherever he laid his hat, when he died, all he left us was alone. I said,
If you have not yet given yet, please give now. If you're not a member, you want to join Push today, stand. You want to join Push today. You want to join Push today, stand. You want to join Push today. You want to join Push today, please stand. You want to join, that young man gave a great introduction. Santa, baby, come up here. Give him a hand. And his mother and father with him, give them a hand. I want to see the fraternity men downstairs in the office for a minute when this is over. We need volunteers to come forward now for the convention. Starts, in fact, next week. The 29th, we'll be meeting at Apostolic Church on 39th in Indiana. Please bring your friends with you and relatives that day. Let's stand together. This is my niece, my brother's daughter, and John wants his cousin to sing something, and she can't sing now.
I've had my share of life, ups and downs, but God's been good. Come on, y'all know anything about that? The downs have been few. Oh, I guess you could say that I am blessed. Oh, I guess you could say that it's all because of God. If anyone should ever rise my story. Oh, for whatever reason there might be. Oh, God is there between each line of pain and glory, 'cause he's the best thing. Come on, background, where y'all at? Ever happened to me. Oh, yeah. God's the best thing, yeah, that ever happened to me.
I want our students from Arkansas each to have a rainbow push. Come to Arkansas students. Come up here. Come up front. To see them. You wearing your t-shirts. Yes, baby. I know. They got them on. We gave each one of them a Rainbow Push t-shirt, Push XL t-shirt. Calvin, are you going to take them down to Pearls to eat? They can't have to eat every day. Huh? Thank you. Chaperones, raise your hand. Parents, come on, chaperones. Let me, before we move any further, Brother Harrell, shh. That song that they sang a few moments ago, by the Temptations. Please be quiet for a moment. Please be quiet just for a moment. Close the door. Close the door. I want you to think about that song anew again. I was in Evian, France a few years ago, and that night, President Barack was getting ready to debate in Kentucky. And he said, you know, Barack going to win the debate tonight, going away. Shh, could you close the door, please, in your mouth at the same time? I was talking with the minister from Kenya. He said, hey, all that talk about his mama raised him and all that, and his dad was a drunk. His dad was a scholar. His dad had the highest grades in Kenya, in Hawaii, went to Harvard. His uncles and aunts are teachers and doctors. He come from strong lineage. He said, mothers, beware of the stories you tell children about it. He said, repeat, mothers, beware the stories you tell children about their fathers. Mothers, beware the stories you tell your children about their fathers. You may have been a Rolling Stone, but one night you rode with the Stone. You talk with him, you see, when I talk about the child's dad, I'm talking about myself. Sing amen before I get to preaching up in here. Hit it. Come on.
Amen.